Hello, everyone. Today's session will be on the overview of the electronic review comment system, otherwise known as ERC. My name's Kurt Leblanc, and I'm in the production support office and central office. The objectives today are to describe what is ERC, give the benefits to using ERC, describe what the different account types are for the system, give you some basic navigation, and then as we do that, we'll point out some common user problems. So with that, what is ERC? Well, ERC is a web-based comment and response application for reviewing plans or documents. It allows for multiple access with no special software. So it's an enterprise application. Nobody has to come and load anything on your computer to be able to use the system. The benefits of ERC are as a central location for all comments and responses. You know, it allows for easy tracking of the review status of different submittals. It archives the submittals for future reference. So if there was a submittal that was reviewed 6 months, a year ago, you can go back and find that submittal and see what the results of the review were. And it also sends email notices for new entries, due date reminders, late comments, and response notifications. So the different types of user accounts. There's two types of accounts. One's known as a RACF account. This is what all employees will have. Some consultants will have RACF accounts. They're also known as mainframe accounts. For a consultant, that would be an account that starts with a KN. And those that don't have RACF, that doesn't mean that you can't use the system. So if you're a consultant or even outside agency personnel that don't have RACF accounts, they're not an employee or they're not a consultant with one, they can sign up for an internet subscriber account, also known as ISA. So how do you get your accounts updated with current information? If you have a RACF account, it needs to go through the FDOT service desk. If it's an ISA account, it can be actually handled by the user through the ISA website, and we'll point that out how to do it in just a minute. For password resets, send an email to FDOT service desk. So for a RACF account, the service desk can reset your password. For an ISA account, the service desk will route your service desk ticket to our office and we can reset your password. Continuing on user accounts, RACF accounts, now not for employees, but consultants that get a RACF account, it may be tied because it's tied to a project. You received a RACF account because you have a project with a department, and your RACF account could be tied to the project. When your project's wrapping up, do not ignore the email, because if that RACF account is tied to the project, it'll have an expiration date on it. When the project starts wrapping up, you'll get an email 30 to 60 days prior to your account expiring. It tells you to do something. Don't ignore it. Get with if you have a new project, get with your new project manager and get a new account or have your account actually extended to the due date of your new project. If you ignore that email, your RACF account will go inactive. You will not be able to access the system. So RACF or ISA, but not both. And I'll show you why. So here, example of me, I have a RACF account, that's a top account. And I also have an ISA account, that's the email account. The system looks at this not as currently belonging one person. It looks at it as two different users. So which account do you assign? Well, the people in the districts, either your district admins or submittal creators or your PMs, they don't really know which account to assign it to. So if I have two accounts in there and I primarily use my ISA account, they may come down, assign it to the first account they see, which is my RACF. And then when I go in to find that submittal, I won't be able to do anything on it because it sees me as a different person. So it's important, if you have a RACF account, use your RACF account. We cannot inactivate the RACF account in ERC. If you don't have a RACF account, then sign up for your ISA, but don't have both. If you do get a RACF account and you have an ISA, contact our office. You could even send a service desk ticket. It'll get routed to us, and we can make your ISA account inactive so it does not show in the system. Here's the example of the sign-in portal. It's a common login that a lot of enterprise applications use. So you have the choice here to use a RACF account or your internet subscriber. You click on one or the other. You can also, if you check this box down the lower left, remember my selection, it'll automatically pop into using a RACF or using the internet subscriber account. So if I check the RACF ID, I enter my ID, I enter the password, and there's a couple things here. One, and then I can log in. I also have the option of changing my password. But you can also, from this point, if you've already selected that box, remember my selection, and say you've gotten rid of your RACF account, I can always check this box in the bottom. It says change my login option. It'll take me back to that previous screen, and I'll be able to use my ISA account. If I select ISA account, this is a login you'll get. Obviously, your user ID is your email address. You enter your password. You can also change your password here. If you forgot your password, you can click that box and it'll send you, the system will send you, not this system, but the ISA system will take you into where you can get it reset. If you don't have an account, this first time in ERC, you don't have a RACF account, and you don't have an ISA account, you can create it from this screen. And if you click create subscriber account, it'll take you to a screen to create it. You can also update any of your information on your ISA account from here. You click on that link and it'll take you to a screen that you can update your information. So if you create your account from that screen, it'll take you to this screen. Email address, first, last name, those are required. It also has an option to put your company name, your phone number. It'll ask you to select a security question, and it's also required that you give an answer to that security question and a password. You create your own password. You can go straight to, so you can either go to the ISA from that screen, or you can go straight to the ISA website, and here's the information for the ISA website that you can update your information. This is the internet subscriber account screen. You log into it. This is an example of what it looks like. So you can update your account information here. Maybe your phone number changed. You can update your security question and the answer to your security question. But please remember, if you update, say, your email address is your user ID for internet subscriber accounts. So if you update your email address, your new user ID is going to be that email address. So we've logged into ERC. Here's a home page that you'll get. I want to point out some common things on it. So here's some information at the top of the screen. It'll be your user ID, the role that you play, the district that you're signed in. And here's an important, drop down box. It says work as. This system has the ability for you to be a delegate to someone else or for you to have delegates. If you're a delegate to someone else, this is how you would work as that delegate. You'd click on the arrow for the drop down, you'd select that person's name, and then you'd be working as that person. Most of the time you're going to work as yourself. And there are also a help hyperlink that has a manual to it and some frequently asked questions, and then the log out that you'll click when you're logging out of the system. So your home page opens as 3 sections. Action items, those are a list of active comments on a submittal that requires an action from the user. So there's a comment that's assigned to you. It's telling you that you need to go do something in the system. It's going to also show all the comments that you've created as a user on any open submittal. So you may not have an action on those comments. You can see the status of the comments that you created and who they reside with. And it's also going to show you the submittals that you're assigned to. So it's going to list all the open submittals that you as a user are assigned to. Action items. I just want to point out, you'll see these they call them chevrons, double arrows. When they're pointing up, it indicates that it's open. So the thread is open. When they're pointing down, it means it's compressed. And you'll see those throughout. The comment threads, you'll see them throughout the system. Some more information here. You'll see the total number of action items I have, how many are due today, how many are due next week. It's just helpful information. Let's look closer at one of these action items. So you'll notice there's a financial project number is displayed along with the district that financial project is associated with. You'll see your role on this particular comment. My role right now would be as a reviewer. You'll see the status. So here you can see that I made a comment, and right now the status is somebody responded to the comment. The response is submitted. So there's an action of me to go look at that response and determine whether I'm going to accept it or not. And then you also have the comment due date and the response due date. The comment here, this is the first 50 characters of the comment. It's hyperlinked so that you can go straight to the comment. It'll also have the submittal description, which is the first 50 characters of that submittal description. And again, it's hyperlinked so you can go into the submittal and see the information on the submittal. You'll notice these red, yellow, green dots. Well, green dot indicates that a due date's more than a week away. You're on time, nothing to worry about. Yellow indicates the due date's within a week. You might want to think about taking the action that you need to take. Red indicates that due date's passed. So you might have to contact a PM and get your due date extended. And a blue dot indicates that the due date is passed, but there's nothing for you to do. So you may have already made your comments. The comment due date's passed. It'll just say that, that's a blue. There's really nothing for you to do on that action. The comment section. There's a couple other things on here. It'll show you who it's assigned to. So if it's not, if it's in your action items, obviously it's assigned to you. But if it's in your comments, you can see if you made a comment, who that comment is assigned to. It's going to also show you the comment status and show that, here it says responses submitted. Moving on to the sign submittals section, looking at some of those items. Here's a new piece of information it'll show you that I've actually made 4 comments on this submittal. The blue dot says that I really have nothing to do on the submittal. So let's go to the submittal screen and look at that information. So if you click on the hyperlink for the submittal, you'll notice this screen displays a lot of information related to the submittal. This information is typically entered by the district administrator, could be by an in-house PM, or by someone else in the district that's designated as a submittal creator. There's a row of tabs up on the top just underneath the project description and the submittal description, and those are different screens that you can go to within the submittal. So let's take a look at, there's a related submittals screen that, if you're on say a phase 2 submittal, you can go to related submittals and go back and look at what the phase 1 submittals were. And you can go back and see what the comments or responses, what the results of that review was. Also, if you're a submittal creator, PM, or somebody that creates submittals, maybe a district admin, you can go and copy the next submittal. So you go, you click on this, say it's a brand new submittal, you hit copy, it brings up a copy from the last submittal, and then you just go in and change the information. Sort of saves a step so that you don't have to retype everything in it, especially if the description is long. Let's look at some information. So the other information on here, as you see, it's got the submittal phase, it's got submittal status, what kind of project it is. Most of them are consultant led. The description, it's got the due dates, and then there's a couple other things on this. The PM comment review date and PM response review date. Those are populated only if the in-house PM wants the comment or the response to stop at their queue so that they can review it. Once it goes to their queue, whatever days are in there, or it could just bypass them if they put 0. But if it's 5 days, on the 6th day, it's going to go to whoever it needs to go to, either the consultant PM or the reviewer. A couple other things on there. You've got a couple choices on here that non-conventional project, those are really what we call non-conventional. Not sure why we use that terminology, but it's design build type projects. It could be P3 type project. It could be a design build finance, design build maintain and operate. It's those type projects that are not our traditional design bid build. And I'll show you why this choice is here and why it needs to be. So on a design build project, if we're reviewing the plans from the design build firm, there's 2 different types of comments that are required on those projects. There's comments that require a response, and what you would do is you'd enter the response in that box. And there's also for your information comments. And so these are comments that don't require a response. So by having these 2 different categories, in ERC, in order to close a submittal, anything that requires a response has to have a response. It has to come to resolution in order to close a submittal. So not everything requires a response on design build. They're informational comments. You may want to consider this, and those don't require a response so that the submittal can be closed without a response to those comments. You also choose a category, possibly a reference page, and then you would either save it or save and submit the comment. And I'll go over in more detail typical comments, the comment screen on your traditional projects. So let's see what these comments look like for a design build project. You'll see that the first comment, it's a test comment. It requires a response, and it says right underneath of it, a written response is required. If you put a comment in a required response box, it'll have that a written response is required. You'll notice the second comment is the FYI comment. It's a nice to have. And it'll say right above category, it'll say this comment is for information only. A written response is not required. I just want to point that out on design build projects. Going back to some of those choices, the other one is a cone of silence lockdown. And some of you may be familiar with Get Smart, and that reference does come from the Get Smart TV show, or even in the recent movie, The Cone of Silence. And the reason for the cone of silence is that sometimes we found out that, say, design build requests for proposal packages that were drafts are being reviewed in ERC. Well, those were open to anybody that had an account. So you could see the conflict that you could have is that you could technically have a draft RFP that would be open to potential design build firms. You know, they could ultimately look at see what's being done during the review. So we have this cone of silence lockdown. If this box is checked and somebody clicks on that submittal, it's going to come back with a message. The selected submittal is under a cone of silence lockdown, and they won't be able to see the review until that box is unchecked. And that box can be checked and unchecked by the district admins, the in-house project managers. So what it does is it limits only those assigned to the submittal to review the comments and responses until that box is unchecked. Say once they release the RFP, then the project manager or the district admin could go in, uncheck that box because it's already released to the public. The district setting must be checked. There's a district setting that the admins for ERC, the district admins must check for that feature to be enabled in the district. Most of them, I believe, have it checked. And as I mentioned, it's used by the district administrator, in-house PMs, or it could be also people that are designated as submittal creators. Yeah, the checkbox on the screen enables that feature, and it can be unchecked at any point in the submittal, on the submittal screen. So let's go and let's look at the document screen. So this is how you can create a submittal, and then you can upload documents based on the submittal. So if it's a plan set, if it's a document, if it's a report, they can be uploaded to the submittal. So you just add a new document, which is that hyperlink at the bottom. And it looks like typically how you would add documents to other systems. You select a file, it'll pull up a box, you know, that has your libraries in it. You select a file, you click the open button, and then it'll show you when it's 100% complete, when it's totally fully uploaded. It'll have the file name just above the description, and then you need to enter a text is required in the description field to describe what the document is. And then you add the document, or you can always cancel out of it. So look at these a little bit closer. You can see that there's the file name on one side. There's the description. We have a test document. And then you click the view button to view it. Looking at more of these tabs, let's go to staff assignments. So staff assignments we can enter, and I'll give you an example of adding a designer. We already have a reviewer, a couple reviewers added. We have some designers. They both add relatively the same way. You click on Add Designer. You would start typing the person's name in the box. Once you get past 3 to 4 characters, it'll give a drop down of names to choose from. You select what the role is going to be. If you just have a designer there or a reviewer, then it's going to ask you to select the lead reviewer or the lead designer. Select the categories for those folks. You know, on a designer side, the categories are going to be the categories of the comments they're going to be responding to. On a reviewer side, it's going to be the category that they would comment on. Due date, and then allowed to submit. The allowed to submit really only applies to a designer or a reviewer. And what that does is it allows responses or comments from a designer or a reviewer to bypass the lead designer or lead reviewer. So if I'm a lead reviewer, I feel very confident in people that are reviewing under me, and I don't need to review every one of their comments and then submit it, because then I would have to submit it. I could have them check the allowed to submit, and the comments from my reviewer would go straight to the PMs. And then you just add, or you can always cancel out. So there's also options here that once you've already assigned somebody, you can edit them. You can unassign a reviewer if they have not made any comments or don't have any open comments. You can unassign designers if they have not made a response or don't have any open responses. On the designers, there's a couple other options. You make them inactive. The due date, allowed to submit, and then you can update any of these categories and unassign. The folks that'll be able to do this are the PMs, the district admins, and the submittal creators. So let's take a look at the comment screen. So the comment screen, you can see by this box, you can show the comments many different ways. You can sort them by only comments assigned to me. You can show comments assigned to a particular person. You know, depending on what you want to see, you can show all the comments. I want to point out this box because this is one of the user, you know, I wouldn't say error, but issue. If you're reviewing the submittal or document and you have no comments, please check this box that says mark as no comment. It'll show that you on this assigned submittal will show on the home page by using the 0 and the asterisk that means that you had no comments. But by making a comment that says no comment forces the designer to respond to that comment, which they could respond with thank you. But then it comes back to you, and you have to accept their thank you, or maybe you want to reject their thank you. By marking no comment, it eliminates all that. It doesn't require a response from the designer, and it doesn't require the reviewer to accept or reject so that the comment can be closed out. As I mentioned before, comments need to be closed so that the submittal can be closed. Let's take a look at one of these comment threads a little closer. So there's the comment. That's the actual comment test. The categories that were assigned to it. The status. This one says comment not submitted. That means I've made a comment and just saved it, but I haven't submitted it yet. The other side, it'll show who the comment's assigned to. So, and that I created it. So since I created it, it's still assigned to me because I've not submitted a comment. And it'll show the created date. You can also put the reference, a reference page on it. So you can put a plan sheet number. You could put a page of a document so that people can get to it, what you're referring to, a lot easier. You can search for comments. The hyperlink at the top allows you to search for a particular thing based on a word or a phrase. And then when you need to create new comments, right underneath the mark as no comment, there's a hyperlink to create a new comment. So here's what the box looks like. It's similar to what DesignBuild was, except there's only one box. It's the comment box. Text is required. You're making a comment, you need to put text what the comment is. You can select a category, and you can select multiple categories. I would recommend selecting the category that most fits what the comment is. Again, you could put your reference page, and then you have the options here to save and submit. We recommend to save your comments. Keep in mind, if you're not making a lot of comments, or if you're making a lot of comments, every time you hit save and submit, it's going to fire. Every time you submit, you're firing an email to various people. So if you have 50 comments, and instead of saving them and then submitting them at one time, if you hit save and submit 50 times, they're going to get 50 emails. So, if you're making a lot of comments, choose to save and then submit them either all at once or as a big group. Looking at the thread a little bit closer, as you can see from here, you can add a document to a comment. It's very similar to adding a document to a submittal. The same text boxes will come up, and as you can see, there's the document right there. It adds it right above the assigned to. And it gives you the file name, which is a hyperlink to the actual document, and it gives you a description or edit. So you can edit the description, or you can actually delete the file. If you added a document to your comment and it really wasn't the right document, you can go in here, click edit, delete it, and then add another document. Looking further at these, as I mentioned before, the chevrons are pointing up, so it's open. You've got a lot of choices here, so this comment's already been made. It's not been submitted. It's just been saved. I could edit the comment at this point. I could delete my own comment. I could submit it. I could add the document to it. Well, one thing to look at is if you've made a lot of comments and you're ready to submit, you can submit all comments. It cuts down on the emails, as I mentioned before. However, if you've made, say, 20 comments and you've got 2 comments that you're not quite ready to submit yet, you could submit the other 18. All you would have to do is check the box next to the comments that you want submitted, and then click the submit selected comments. It'll submit the ones that you've checked the box for, and it'll hold the other ones still in your queue for you to work on further. From a response side, you can see this comment submitted for response. It gives you the category. It shows you who it's assigned to. This one's assigned to Bobby. And then he would have 2 options. He can agree with the comment as a designer, or he can respond to the comment. So if he agrees with the comment, it's going to bring up a text box. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to agree to this comment? It gives you what the comment is. And then it's got a box that you could put some further information. This text is optional. And I will point out, if you agree to a comment, that means you agree to what the reviewer said. Not you partially agree, but you agree to a point, but you're also going to do something else. that's a response. That's not an agree with. Because when you click agree with, and there's the option to agree after you enter optional text. You know, the optional text could say, we will update the plan set, or we agree, thank you. If you select agree, the comment will close and the status will say agreed with. If you put something in there, a response that really needs, you know, the reviewer to accept or reject, they're not going to have that option, and you're really going to have an unresolved issue that's now closed. So if you agree fully with the comment, click agree. If you don't, then you need to respond. And to respond, by clicking respond, you enter your response. It's going to ask you, are you sure you want to respond to this comment? Text is required on a response, obviously. You're responding to something. You need to tell them what your response is. And then you can save your response. We recommend this too. Same thing will happen with responses. It'll send out multiple. Every time you submit a response, it's going to send and fire an email. But you do have the option to save and submit. Maybe you only have one response that you have to respond to. Then it's appropriate to hit save and response. Again, here's the response and review. It shows who it's assigned to. These are important. This tells me that response and review tells me that Bobby's made a response to this comment, but I haven't seen it yet, and he hasn't submitted it yet. So once he submits it, it's going to say response submitted. And then if I'm the reviewer, I have an action item to take care of. Again, you see the edit. So he's saved this response. He can go in and edit it. He can submit it from here. He can change his response to an agree, or he can add a document to his response. And then he's got the option to submit all his responses or submit the responses he selects. So he checks a box on the ones he selects and clicks submit selected responses, and they will submit. Looking further at some of the tabs, so we have reports. There's specific reports that you can run on a particular submittal, and they are listed as follows. So you can show all the comments. You can run a report showing comments assigned by category. There's different ways, and it'll show you those comments depending on what you choose. So let's look under the submittal tab. So in most, unless you're a in-house PM, you're a district admin, or you have the role as a submittal creator within a district, you will not be able to create new submittals, but you can search for submittals. And here's the search for submittal screen. So looking at this screen further, you can search for submittals by comment due date. You can put a range in there. You can put a response due date, a range on when you thought your responses were due. You can search by submittal description. You can search by all the submittals that were assigned to me as a staff member, or by FM. Probably FM is the most common search criteria. You can put an FM number in there and search for all the submittals that are associated with that FM number. And you also have some other options there. If you know the district, you want to choose what district you know that the submittal is in, or there's also a way to choose statewide. One option that's been added to this is you can check that box and it'll only return submittals that had unresolved comments. So that's an option that's available. And then based on the criteria you enter, you hit the search button or you clear it and choose new criteria. Settings. So there's different settings. There's user settings. and some of these are so there's notification setting. When you click on user settings, you'll see the tab that says notification settings. And what that does is it allows you to choose the notifications that you want to get based on your role on the submittal or your typical role. And you can have different criteria or different notifications. If you have multiple roles, you'll need to go in here and choose this one is for a consultant project manager, me as a consultant project manager. If I had different roles, I'm sometimes a reviewer, I'm a consultant PM, or if I'm a designer, I can choose the email notifications I want to get based on those roles. There's only certain emails that are mandatory that you will get no matter what, and that's when you're assigned to a submittal or removed from a submittal. When you're assigned to a submittal or you're removed from a submittal, you will get those emails. But there's other emails on here, notifications that you can choose to get or you can choose not to get. And all you would have to do is click on the box, notify user for the emails that you want to get. So if a comment is agreed to, I want to see every time a comment's agreed to as a consultant PM, I can click that checkbox. Or a comment was closed or a response submitted for review. I would check those check boxes and I would get those notifications. Going back to settings, other user setting is you have an option to choose what your home screen will default to. So mine's defaulted to action items. So, or in this case, it's defaulted to assign submittals. So when I go into my home screen, assigned submittals is always going to be the open section. If you want action items opened, you can choose action items or comments. It's just a user preference. Back to the settings. There's also a manage delegates. And I mentioned earlier, there's an option within this system to have delegates. You can have your own delegate. So it may be a good idea that if you're going to be away from the office for extended period of time, maybe you're going on vacation and you need somebody to handle your workload while you're gone, make them a delegate. And by managing delegates, you can choose a delegate. You go down under choose your staff member delegate. You start typing their name. You'll get a list back. You choose them. And then you can choose whether they get your notifications or not. So you would need to talk to your delegate. If they want to get the notifications that you get every time something is done that's associated with you, they will get those notifications. If they don't want to, maybe they're a person that goes into ERC every day and they just don't need the notifications, then you can leave that unchecked. And then say you come back from vacation and your delegate says, okay, take me off of that because they don't want to see it anymore. Well, you can remove them at any point. But the option's there. You can leave them as delegates. It's up between you and your delegate whether they're always on there and whether they get your notifications or not. So some additional information. The district is displayed throughout the application now. So it didn't used to be. That's a feature we added about a year ago. If you hover on the home page and you hover over the FBID number, it will return a description of the project from the FM. As I mentioned before, if you click no comment, it'll display under your assigned submittals as a 0 and an asterisk that you had no comments on that particular submittal. It'll also show on the staff assignment screen that you had no comments. Submittal title and the description is now displayed on several pages. And as I mentioned, I pointed out, search submittal screen now has the option to return only submittals with unresolved comments. Also now, you can enter multiple comments by clicking the create comment once. Used to be that your comment box would close out every time. And if you're making 50 comments, you would go in there and have to keep clicking to create comment. So what happens now is once you save the comment or save or submit the comment, a new blank comment box will come up. And when you're done making comments, you just close that dialog box out. And so you only have to click the create comment hyperlink once. In-house PMs and district admins have the ability to send notifications to those assigned to the submittal. District admins can change the staff type if no comments have been made on the submittal yet. So if you create, say, an in-house staff type submittal and realize that the district admin or state admins have the ability to change the staff type to, say, a consultant type. In-house PMs cannot close a submittal with unresolved comments. And it's not only in-house PMs, it's also district admins. You can only close a submittal if all the comments have been resolved. Otherwise, it stays open. And we encourage folks to get these comments resolved, move on to the next phase and the next submittal, because the more submittals that are open, even though it may have gone past its review cycle, then it affects the performance of the system. Staff assignments are alphabetized by last name. Okay, there's an ability now, so there's default lists. This is really for the district admins, or if you're a submittal creator and there's default lists within your district, you can choose the default list, and now there's the ability to modify those within the staff assignments. So maybe you can start off with a default list, but you want to add other people or maybe review some people. You can do that in the staff assignment screen now. The file sizes are up to 1 gigabyte. Consultant PMs now have the ability to upload documents to a submittal. So if they have their plan sets, they have reports, whatever, they can actually upload those instead of those files being sent into the district admins or the in-house PMs, and they have to upload it. The consultant PMs now have the ability to upload documents to a submittal. Statewide administrators can delete individual comments. We will ask that you just send us an email stating what the submittal is, the FM number, what submittal specifically it is, the description, and what comment you specifically want deleted. So some final thoughts. Do not email myself or Jim Wolf, who also helps with the system, for ERC issues. It's not that we don't want to help you, because we do. But the better way to get to us is to email the service desk, because they will create a ticket. It will get routed to us. And the reason we're asking you not to email us directly, if one of us is out on vacation and you have, say you need a password reset, you need, a comment deleted, and I'm out for a week or 2 weeks, maybe on annual leave, Jim's not going to know about it. If you send it to the service desk, Jim will know about it and he'll be able to handle it. Or if Jim's out and you're emailing Jim directly, then I'll know about it and I'll be able to handle your situation. So always remember, just email the service desk for password resets or any other kind of user problems that you may have. We will handle the situation because we both get notified. When reporting issues, so if there's something going on, please give us as much information as possible. If you're getting error message, take a screenshot of that error message. It helps us when we send it over to OIT. It helps them narrow down where the issues are. So as much information as possible that you can send us is greatly appreciated. It helps us resolve your issue much quicker. If you have ideas for enhancements, we're open to ideas. We get in the pipeline for enhancement ideas, just like everyone else. But if you have some ideas, email them to this email address. You could also email them the service desk. They will forward it to us, but it's really not a ticket. If you have an idea, you can send your idea to this email address, and we have a wish list, and we will add it to it or tell you why we don't think it's a good idea. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I want to say thank you for listening. Again, my name's Kurt Lieblong. I'm a state value engineer. Here's some of my contact information. I'm in the production support office, and I hope this presentation helped you in with any kind of issues or knowledge you may need for the ERC system. Thank you.